Before we get stuck into the painting, I wanted to let you know about my online course. With a growing collection of weekly videos, there's always something new to look forward to. Click the button in the top right to sign up today. Now, over to the easel. This one's photographed from a drone, but the thing that I love about it is it's a backlit scene, and normally that's a great light effect to be able to capture light or the effects of sunlight on our subject. So the trick is going to be to almost think of the main shape, even the buildings, the walls, the shadows, all as one big silhouette up against the background. And you may notice that I am going definitely a little brighter and warmer than I normally would, because the one historically similar thing with backlit scenes is that they can become a little cold. That's why I try to really choose wisely to make sure I've got a scene that has X amount of colour in it, especially the very early morning subjects. They can appear a little on the cold side. And not that there's anything wrong with a cold scene, they're just a little harder to make appealing, to make aesthetically pleasing. So we can start to see that contrast, and I think that's the other element we do need to think in terms when we're painting light. If I was doing a monochromatic scene of this, just with the classic sepia sort of colours or black and white, you would notice that there's still a light effect, and that shows just how important contrast is to our overall painting process. So it's that light and dark. That's where, if you are struggling to paint sunlight or get a good light effect, either do some monochromatic work or get in with a pencil and do as much drawing, because that's the beauty of drawing. Is it's not only teaching us to see great shapes and subjects, but it is teaching us sunlight. And I think that's probably what's helped me over the years to be able to see and capture sunlight. It's not a passion for me, it's deeply in my DNA. I think it's a thing that drives me. Even if it's a overcast day, I'm still trying to capture the light of the day, and that is another challenge in itself as well. So now I'll just aim to cut in those negative shapes in the background. And we're needing to think in terms of interesting rhythmic shapes as well. You'll notice where I've left a few little shadows from the trees up against the rooftop. So we're still thinking in terms of placement of shape, movement of eye, of the viewer's eye. But we're still then locking in the light effect. And it's such a classic farm scene to capture as well. And I think I've always had a certain affinity with our farmers, coming from a background that my father did grow a few things when we were a kid, most notably radishes, possibly the worst vegetable ever found, but we did grow up on a few acres with a tractor, and with a life spent outdoors and enjoying sunlight. I think it's deeply entrenched in my psyche. And also I think the Australian Painting School does mirror. So our early impressionists were marvellous painters of light, and so that's definitely been borne out in every painter since. So we've got quite light values up on the sunlit areas of the top of the silo, and it's really a grouping of I think 6 silos in one, but sometimes I think it makes it for a better scene to paint because it's not just the one vertical shape. It's a more interesting shape. But have a look at those shadows down in under the shed and the shadows on the left-hand side or right-hand side of the vertical where it hits that building. Super important to get those shadows in. And so much so that with 10 years, nearly or pretty close to 10 years of online teaching experience, it's normally the one thing that comes out. Might have the student who's very good with their composition, placement of shape, brushwork, but it's that contrast from light to dark. It's the one thing that I notice first. And that's why with the course I actually did one of the chapters on contrast itself, because I realised it was a common concern that a lot of painters do have. So we're now bringing in those lightest lights. Once again, I felt with this scene I did have it in hand, but definitely once I was starting to get down to the foreground, and that's normally when we're wanting to make the decisive brush marks, the decisive edges. We need to really have them ready to go, because that's the real icing on the cake, is those final few little marks. And I think to give this one scale, a little figure would go ideal. And down in this bottom area will be the place that I think will the best area to put it. So we're well and truly on track with this guy. It's all coming good. And there's a certain amount of greyed areas, lost edges on those silos, because we don't want them too vertically strong. No matter how well and how strong I get my primary focal point, which is the bottom area, I would say the top of the silo is the secondary and the house on the right in the distance as the tertiary. I still do need to find and have enough lost edges on those verticals. So, and that's with just blurring a few of those edges. And there are some other little verticals there that I can use, but this one I'm just buzzing around, just doing those final little suggestions. The trick is not to overdo them.